Over the next 5 minutes, my intention is to transform your relationship with sound. Let me start with the observation that most of the sound around us is accidental. Much of it is unpleasant. We stand on street corners shouting over noises and pretending it doesn't exist. And but this habit of suppressing sound has meant that our relationship with sound has become largely unconscious. But there are four ways in which sound affects us all the time, and I'd like to raise your consciousness of that today. The first is physiological. So when you're hearing an alarm like this, sorry about that, I just gave you a shot of cortisol, flight fight hormone, and sounds are affecting your hormone secretions all the time actually. But it's also affecting your breathing, your heart rate, which also I just did, and your brain waves. It's not just unpleasant sounds like that do it. Sounds like sound of the waves, which has a frequency of roughly 12 cycles per minute, and most people find that very soothing. And interestingly, 12 cycles per minute is roughly the frequency of the breathing of a sleeping human. So there is a deep resonance with being at rest. So we also associate that noise with stress-free state and or a holiday. And the second way in which sound affects us is psychological. Music is the most powerful form of sound that we know that affects our emotional state. This is music is guaranteed to make most of you feel sad or happy or whatever emotions it offers. Music is not the only kind of sound, however, which affects your emotions. Natural sound can also do that. Bird song, for example, is a sound which most people find extremely reassuring. There's a reason for that. Over hundreds and thousands of years, we have learned that when birds are singing, things are safe. It's when they stop that we need to be worried. The third way in which sound affects us is cognitively. You can't understand two people talking at the same time. One person has to talk one at a time. You have to choose who you're going to listen to. We have a very small amount of bandwidth for processing auditory input, which is why noises in the office is extremely damaging for productivity. If you have to work in an open plan office, your productivity is extremely reduced, and whatever number you're thinking of, it's probably isn't as bad as this. So the number is 66%. Your productivity in open plan offices decreases by 66%. You are one third as productive in open plan offices as in quiet rooms. The fourth way in which sound affects you is behaviorally. So with all the other stuff going on, it would be amazing if our behavior didn't change. So let's let's think when you're listening to an extremely vibey music when you're driving, are you going to drive, I guess, 28 miles steady per hour? Of course not. So let's keep it as simple as this. We move towards unpleasant sounds. We move towards pleasant sounds, and we move away from unpleasant sounds. So if if I were to play a jackhammer for a few seconds, you'd feel extremely uncomfortable. And if it's more than a few minutes, you would leave the place and just close your devices and go away. So for people who can't get away with noises like that, it's extremely damaging for their health. And that's not the only thing that bad sound damages actually. Most retail sound is inappropriate and sometimes even accidental, and the biggest problem is it is hostile and it has a dramatic effect on sales. For you retailers, you may not want to hear this number, but due to inappropriate and hostile music, your sales is actually decreasing by 28%. So you are losing up to 30% of your business at the doorstep. So So I just want to take some moments and tell uh, businesses and how sound can increase sales and help run businesses more effectively. So first, let's make sound congruent, pointing it in the same direction as your visual communication. That increases impact by over 1,000%. And if your sound is in the opposite direction, you reduce your impact by 86%. And that's an order of magnitude up or down. So this is extremely and extremely important. Secondly, make it appropriate to the situation. Thirdly, make it valuable. Give people something with a sound. Don't just bombard them with noisy and irritating stuff. Finally, test and test it again. Sound is extremely complex and it has very profound influences. So it can be a bit like a bowl of spaghetti. Sometimes you just have to eat it, and see what happens. So I hope this talk has raised your consciousness with regards to the importance of sound. If you're listening consciously, you can take control of the sound around you. It's good for your health and for your productivity. If we all do that, we move to a state that I think will be sound living in the world. And thank you for lending me yesterday.